Finding Nemo and Toy Story 3 are in the top 50 highest grossing films of all time. And the secret to their popularity? Fabulous storytelling. Emma Coates is a storyboard artist for Pixar, the animation firm behind those two barnstorming successes. And she's outlined her 22 rules for fabulous storytelling. Her rule number 4 gives her idea of what the perfect structure of any story is. It goes like this. Once upon a time there was every day, one day, because of that, until finally. Coates' 22 rules are all well worth checking out. I'll put a link to them in the resources. But I particularly love this rule because its structure captures something absolutely fundamental that's vital for a powerful story. Something happens to your hero. An ability to tell a great story in which you have a hero and something happens to that hero can make or break your message. In fact, it can even win or lose you elections. Let's take a look at some examples, starting with a truly terrible speech given by someone at the European Union shortly before the Brexit vote.
I welcome the new urban agenda. As a cornerstone in the implementation and localisation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and other milestone reform agendas of 2015, in particular the Paris Agreement, the new urban agenda reflects the EU's vision for sustainable urban development by calling for an integrated and place-based approach that takes into account the diversity of cities and their wider territorial context while building on urban-rural linkages.
Did you catch all that? How inspired are you feeling right now about the new urban agenda? Has it painted a glorious picture of what the new urban agenda will do for you? Or has it left you reeling under the weight of all those dull, abstract implementations and localizations and integrated place-based approaches? Let's contrast that speech with an extract from a speech given by Nigel Farage, the then leader of the UK Independence Party, shortly after the Brexit vote. Now, I'm no fan of Farage and I didn't vote for Brexit, but I'm convinced that one of the reasons the Leave camp won was their ability to tell a more compelling story. Let's see Nigel Farage telling that story.
What happened last Thursday was a remarkable result. It was indeed a seismic result, not just for British politics, for European politics, but perhaps even for global politics too, because what the little people did, what the ordinary people did, what the people who've been oppressed over the last few years and seen their living standards go down, they rejected the multinationals, they rejected the merchant banks, they rejected big politics, and they said, actually, we want our country back. We want our fishing waters back. We want our borders back. We want to be an independent, self-governing, normal nation. And that is what we have done, and that is what must happen.
Now, whatever you think of Farage's politics, you have to admit he knows how to give a great speech. And more importantly, he knows how to tell a compelling story. His story of Brexit has got people, conflict, drama, change. And he doesn't merely tell us that the people had a voice, he gives them actual dialogue. And if we look closely at the structure of those lines, we can see that they fit the Pixar structure perfectly. Once upon a time there was an island of little people who were oppressed. Every day they saw their living standards go down. One day, someone asked them if they wanted to overthrow their oppressors. Because of that, they were given a voice. Because of that, they used their voice to say, no, we've had enough, until finally they were free. Let's look at another example, this time from my own portfolio. My brief was to write a speech for a CEO. He wanted to convey his human side to his employees, which he felt had never really come across. We sat down together and he told me lots of anecdotes about his childhood and his family life. None of it really resonated though. And then, almost as an aside, He mentioned that when he first joined the company, he felt like a new dad trying to gain acceptance among his new family. Boom! That was the beginnings of a great story. Here's how I spun it out.
When I stood in front of you this time last year, Globo Bank didn't feel like home. I'd been in the job less than a year and I was still finding my feet. Sure, I had an idea about what we needed to do as a business, but I didn't really get the place. I didn't really get the culture. I didn't really get you. Looking back on my first year, I felt, and I suspect I looked to you, like a new stepfather. The awkward outsider desperately playing catch up with his new family. Keen to bond with you, but not totally sure how. Assuming the role of the parent without having properly won your trust. But a year ago, I made the decision to listen to you more and talk less. And after that, something amazing happened. Globo Bank finally began to feel like home, like family. In fact, I've never worked anywhere that's felt more like home, more like family. In short, favourite job ever.
Let's see how that speech also fits the Pixar structure. Once upon a time, there was a new CEO. Every day when he went to work, he felt like the awkward stepdad. One day, he decided to listen more and talk less. Because of that, work started to feel like home. Because of that, his employees became his family, until finally he had the best job ever. That speech went down a storm with employees, and it went down a storm because it told an emotional, compelling story. A story in which something happened to the hero which changed things forever. Why not experiment with the Pixar structure yourself?